This is a rebroadcast of tonight's Channel 11 News 10 o'clock report.
And good evening, everybody. Coming up next here on 11 News, a New Year's Eve tragedy in North Texas. Rock and roll singer Ricky Nelson has been killed in a plane crash. Half a dozen other people on the plane also killed. We'll have the full report.
The biggest New Year's Eve party in Texas is underway right now at the summit. I'm Philip Bruce. We're with Willie Nelson, and I'll have a live report.
And also tonight, some good advice on how to make it into 1986 if you've had a bit too much to drink. Free taxi rides home. Those stories plus all the sports and weather next, right here on Channel 11.
Live from Houston's news and information source, this is the Channel 11 News 10 o'clock report with Felicia Jeter, Chip Moody, sports with Gifford Nielsen, and weather with meteorologist Craig Weber. Now, the 10 o'clock report.
A twin-engine airplane crashed in northeast Texas tonight, taking the life of 1950s teenage rock and roll idol Ricky Nelson. Good evening, everybody, and thank you very much for joining us. Felicia is off tonight. Ricky Nelson and his band were flying from Alabama to Dallas for a New Year's Eve concert. Their DC-3 plane went down in Bowie County, about 40 miles west of Texarkana, around 5:15 this evening. The Bowie County Sheriff says weather was not a factor in the crash.
Apparently caught on fire in the cockpit, and we had a local helicopter pilot that was following the aircraft and was in communication with them, which time they found this field here about 2 miles east of DeKalb, circled the field a couple of times and attempted to make a landing.
In his attempt to land, the pilot clipped some power lines and then crashed into a grove of trees. A total of 7 people, including Nelson's girlfriend, Helen Blair, were all killed. 2 survivors were taken to a Texarkana hospital. Both men, both critically burned. Their identities are being withheld. A woman who lived near the crash site has also been hospitalized with minor injuries. Ricky Nelson first gained fame in the 1950s on television. He was the youngest son of Ozzie and Harriet Nelson, and he first established his musical popularity and fame by singing on that TV show.
I'm a traveling man, made a lot of stops all over the world, and in every port I own the heart of at least one lovely girl.
Nelson also starred in some movies, including The Wackiest Ship in the Army and the movie Rio Bravo. He made a musical comeback in 1973 with the song Garden Party. Ricky Nelson, dead tonight at the age of 45. Despite the sad news of Nelson's death, it is New Year's Eve and people are celebrating. 250,000 people have gathered in New York's Times Square to welcome in 1986. They're waiting for the lighted apple to begin its 1-minute descent, timed precisely to end as the old year fades into the new. The Times Square celebration is being held tonight for the 75th year. Well, he has become as familiar a New Year's Eve face in Houston as Father Time himself. Willie Nelson is back in town to sing in 1986 at the summit. And 11 News reporter Philip Bruce is standing by live now with this report. Philip?
Chip, Willie's concert on New Year's Eve is clearly the biggest New Year's Eve party in Texas. It's underway right now. Willie isn't on stage yet. The crowd here is waiting for him. He should be out in about a half an hour or so. We've just heard from George Jones. He's only one of the many country musicians on the bill tonight. This is kind of a sad occasion because of the death of Rick Nelson. Many of the artists here have expressed a lot of concern about that. They all grew up in the business with him. But as far as the concert goes, people here are still very up. It's a very upbeat atmosphere. There are about 50,000 people in the summit right now, and they are still coming in. Of course, everyone is waiting for the big countdown that comes at around midnight. That's when Willie and George Jones and everybody else here will be on stage bringing in the new year as they have for the past 11 years in the summit. And we are waiting for that as well. Of course, Willie is a big attraction, but George Jones has promised some special surprises here tonight. The people who come to these concerts have learned to expect the unexpected. Last year, there were special walk-ons by Chris Christopherson and Rita Coolidge. This year, former Oilers running back Earl Campbell is in the audience. He's been introduced once, and we have heard from reliable sources that he may be called on stage later tonight for a special duet with George and Willie. Chip?
All right, Philip, was there any public announcement made there at the summit regarding the plane crash that killed Ricky Nelson?
Nothing on the loudspeaker. Most of the crowd, we assume, doesn't even know about it yet. But the musicians have heard it through the grapevine or on the news as they were coming in. We have yet to hear any kind of response from Willie Nelson, but the people with George Jones' band express a deep regret and sadness about it, especially on what was supposed to be